Hello and welcome to Infinity. I'm Charlie Seraphin. Ursel Tendzin is the first American heir to an ancient lineage of Tibetan Buddhism. It's been kept alive for thousands of years by the unbroken transmission of insight from teacher to disciple. Osel Tendzin is a native of New Jersey. He doesn't wear saffron robes or shave his head. He's married and has 4 children. He lives in Boulder, Colorado, has never been to Tibet. His just published book is called Buddha in the Palm of Your Hand. Mr. Tenzen, really now, this is a very unusual background. How does a guy from New Jersey end up in the lifestyle and the role which has been selected for you and you have selected?
Well, I think it's a coincidence based on my own longing to find out what this life is all about and why it is that we human beings struggle to know something.
Can you tell me a little bit about how you got involved in Buddhism?
Well,
Is it big in New Jersey?
New Jersey?
Particularly?
I don't think so. There is a Tibetan monastery in Freehold, New Jersey, which has been there for many, many years, but that's not how I got involved in any case. My own journey, so to speak, begins in the early 60s when I was in the university and with the people of my time, at that time, searching, dissatisfied, looking for something, not content with the so-called model of how an American should be or what we should call success or what we should look for as the best things in our lives. Well, I was part of that particular time in the 60s.
Were you a hippie?
Well, I think I was a pseudo-hippie. I don't think I could, if there is such a thing, I don't think I was a full-blown hippie, but I had long hair in any case. I don't know if that makes me hippie.
Well, in the eyes of some people, I would imagine it would.
In those days,
yeah.
it did. It did, yeah. Well, in any case, I began, by chance, reading about Eastern religion and philosophy around 1963, and subsequently met a Hindu teacher whose name is Swami Satchidananda, to whom I owe a great debt. And I studied with him for 4.5 years, and then met Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche, my root guru, of whom I am the regent at this point.
What is a root guru?
A root guru is your principal teacher, the one who actually shows you the path and the way. One may have many teachers, but a root guru means just like the roots of a tree, the one that provides the ultimate nourishment.
And where is Trungpa now?
Well, Trungpa Rinpoche resides in Boulder, but travels much of the year teaching. At this point, he is in our center in Vermont, Carmachilling, in Barnet, Vermont. And he's teaching a seminar there.
I think it's important for our radio audience that I describe you in some degree. You are wearing what I would call a traditional Western business suit, a white shirt and tie. You have a average haircut. You have a mustache. And if you walk down the street, you're wearing brown tie shoes. You would not be distinguishable in any sense from anyone who wasn't a Buddhist.
So aren't I lucky?
Aren't you lucky? I don't know. Are you or not? So what I'm trying to get at are some of the contrasts. You have retained the outward appearances of Western life, to some degree at least, and yet inwardly you have directed your life in an Eastern philosophy.
Well, I think that there's a reason for that. First of all, Trungpa Rinpoche, my root guru, when he came to this country, thought it best not to try to reproduce Tibetan cultural lifestyle, dress, food, and whatnot. And actually, if you study the history of Buddhism, as it spread from India, east and now west, it always takes on the culture in which it is, located. You look at the Buddhism in Thailand or Burma or Japan or China or Ceylon or whatnot, and now the United States. There's no emphasis on trying to change people's lifestyle, particularly, because the essence of Buddhist practice is basically practice. It's an inner discipline, and the means in which you express yourself, that is your cultural manifestation, should be natural according to where you are and what you do.
Would you explain the concept of incarnation in the Buddhist tradition?
Well, incarnation has, it's a very simple, there's a simple way of looking at it. Let's take, for instance, you had a series of candles, and you lit one with a match, and from that one, you picked up the next candle and lit the next one. Put that one down, and with the next candle, you lit the next one. In terms of one's life and death, that kind of experience is going on all the time. What we call our life, we usually chronicle, at least those of us who can remember, from the time we are born, that is to say when somebody says we are born, because we don't remember that, and the time we die, which we also don't remember, so somebody else chronicles it. But in terms of our actual experience, what happens is that we go from moment to moment, and there's continuous birth and death. In other words, what you felt a few moments ago, you don't feel now. And what you feel next moment is not what you feel now. So there's a constant change happening. So you could say that's incarnation. Incarnation from the point of view of continuous rebirth. Rebirth of your thoughts, rebirth of your emotions, your bodily sensations, and so on. That's on a very, sort of practical level.
Okay, now there's a lot being said and talked about and written in this day and age about reincarnation and someone being someone else, or the continuation of the energies of someone else. Mm-hmm. Are you an incarnation of some one individual lived earlier?
Not that I know of. I have no recollection of that.
Do some of the people who practice Buddhism have recollection of previous incarnations?
There are those people who are called incarnations, yes.
Is your master one of those?
He's one of those. He's called the 11th Trungpa, the 11th in succession. Basically, that means that because of his vow to help all beings, he deliberately incarnates in this particular realm, which we call the human realm, in order to serve human beings like ourselves. So it's a deliberate action of one's mind.
Is that a matter of faith as a follower of an individual, that you believe in their incarnation?
Well, we've never been taught that particularly. Rinpoche has never stressed anything like that. He is called the 11th Trungpa Tulku from his tradition. When he came to this country, he never particularly made mention of it. I think it just makes sense from the point of view of the strength of the teaching and how the teaching of the Buddha has been transmitted over the past 2,500 years without corruption or interruption.
How does Christ fit into the Buddhist scheme of things?
How does Christ fit in? What do you mean by that?
Well, is Christ in the Christian tradition is an incarnation of God the Father, and is a continuation. Was Christ another holy man? Is Christ related to Buddha?
Well, I think anybody who preaches the doctrine of non-aggression and love and compassion should be considered a holy man, or woman for that matter. Whomever teaches that way and lives that way should be considered a holy person.
Okay, let's take a step back then and ask, what is Buddhism? Is there a definition that you can give for a non-Buddhist?
Well, Buddhism is an English word.
Okay.
So, but we have to take it back to the Sanskrit. Buddha is the name of someone who awakens the enlightened aspect of his or her own mind. It comes from the Sanskrit verb root bud, B-U-D-H, means to awaken. So basically anyone who awakens fully is called a Buddha. In this particular age, the first person of memory is called Shakyamuni Buddha, who lived in India over 2,500 years ago. So he was called the Buddha. In other words, he was the first one to say, aha, it's possible to wake up. And if you follow this discipline, you can wake up. And throughout the history of Buddhism, there are people who have attained to Buddhahood or awakened state of mind.
Can you make a distinction between Buddhism as a religion and Buddhism as a practice of trying to wake up?
Well, I think strictly speaking, religion means discipline. Religion means the continuous discipline of waking up. We're using the term waking up, but, you know, it doesn't simply mean the continuous discipline of performing ritual acts. Strictly speaking, seems that religion means continuity. In other words, to continuously be awake. That's strictly speaking. In that sense, Buddhism is a religion. In terms of the continuity of ritual acts, if they have as their nature waking up, then that I would call a religious act.
There are different variations within what we would consider Buddhism in terms of practice, are there not?
The basic practice is the same. What the Buddha taught in his early days is still being practiced exactly the same way today. There are variations according to the culture. For instance, the basic practice of Buddhism, let's say, the teaching of the Buddha, is the practice of meditation. Now that practice of meditation, whether it's in Thailand or Ceylon or Japan or San Francisco, is still the same practice. Whether it's called Zen Buddhism or Tibetan Buddhism or Theravadan Buddhism, there's still, one has to sit down and practice oneself this meditation. And that's the same. When you get into the descriptions of the path, the journey, and the different aspects of it, then it differs according to the realization of a particular person or teacher or school.
Could you give us a quick lesson in meditation, what some of the basic elements of meditation are?
Well, the basic element of meditation altogether is to be simple. Simply who you are. Now, to be simply who you are means not to be distracted. So, one has to know what is distraction and what isn't. Usually we don't know anything like that because we think that everything's sort of jumbled up together. Our world, daytime, nighttime, rain, sunshine, good day, bad day, happy day, sad day, everything's mixed up together. To practice meditation properly, one should first relax, take a comfortable seat, and just be with oneself without trying to prove anything. That's sort of, might call the bottom line meditation practice.
I once asked a friend of mine who was a beginning student, or a beginning practitioner, better said, I guess, in Buddhism, and he said that for him, the first step was to concentrate on breath, which is a very simple body function, the taking in of air and the letting out of air. And then if he could get beyond that, he would try to get to his heart and try to really feel the intake and output of blood from his heart, and that would help him as a on the road to meditation. You laugh.
Yes. Well, you see, the the basic practice, the basic technique, you might call technique of meditation, does work with the breath, because breath is the most ordinary thing that we have, and it just simply happens. You don't have to invent it. It's not something that you say, well, now I'm going to breathe. You just breathe. And so putting attention to the breath, in and out flow of the breath can concentrate the mind, or in other words, can bring the mind into the present moment. But there are also pitfalls with that. If you just think of the ebb and flow of the breath, you can start to fall asleep as well.
Do you consciously or subconsciously that you can recollect think about anything while you are meditating?
Are you
or
kidding?
Are you emptying your mind?
No, you think all the time. I haven't met anybody yet who's emptied their mind.
Is that a goal, to empty one's mind?
I would doubt it. If you
Okay.
empty your mind,
Well,
then
this
you
is
don't
unusual.
have
Then
it.
I think that my perception of meditation is a distorted one.
Well, I
from
think
what you-
that's the usual perception in
Okay.
the Western culture,
All right.
that to have no thoughts. Then you see pictures of the Buddha sitting there. Say, well, that gentleman has no thoughts, therefore he's happy.
Just kind of
He
spaced out.
doesn't he
Yeah.
doesn't have to think.
Mhm.
If he doesn't have to think, then he's happy. But I don't think that's the way it goes.
Well, you don't think about the balance in your checkbook and those sorts of things.
You can think about anything you'd like. The point is not to take your thoughts all that seriously. From an ordinary point of view, we take thoughts very seriously. One little thing comes up, and suddenly we create a whole world of illusion around one simple thought. The practice of meditation, by practicing meditation, it says, I should say, one can examine the nature of thoughts. And you can see that thoughts themselves have no substance as such. They're always in reference to something.
So you just let those little sugar plums dance in and out of your head, and
Pretty
And,
much. If you keep your posture, if you keep yourself upright and awake and allow the thoughts to come and go, you don't have to fixate on any of them. At least for the period in which you are meditating. Let's say you have a formal period of meditation, it's 1 hour long, something like that. In that time, the visions of sugar plums dance through your head, obviously. But you always have this anchor, which is the breath, to come back to just simply what's happening in the moment. You have body, breath, thoughts, emotions, environment. Pretty much that's it.
is there any such thing as astral travel, being able to project yourself when
I'm
you're in
sure
that
there is.
position outside of your
Oh, sure.
physical
I'm
body?
sure there is.
Do you
Yeah.
practice that?
Absolutely not.
Oh, okay.
I don't have any desire to go anyplace else. It seems all right here. It's not easy here, but it's all right.
Do the other people that you associate with in the Boulder area that have the same practice of Tibetan Buddhism, do they project themselves out away from where they are? Or are they pretty much down-to-earth people, too?
Most people that I associate with are interested in paying the bills. And they don't only live in the Boulder area. That's why I'm out here in San Francisco in the Bay Area.
Mm-hmm. But they have a regular workaday existence.
Every day.
And the tradition is helps them keep healthy. Does it help you? Are you more healthy than I am? Do you get fewer colds since I don't meditate as much as I used to?
I doubt it. I don't think that's the point.
Okay, what is the point then? Why
Point-
should we encourage someone to be a Tibetan Buddhist and to?
I don't think we should encourage anybody to be a Tibetan
Okay.
Buddhist. But I think we should encourage people to wake up, to look at things in a very precise and clear way. You know what happens then? You start to become gentle and warm, and you begin to like the world you live in, rather than feeling that you always have to fight. And basically that's it. There's not much more to it than that.
Can we use as a synonym for waking up enlightenment?
Yes,
Okay. How would you define enlightenment?
waking up.
Waking up. Okay. I
Well,
thought
you're
that was
waking up
coming.
from a dream. Let's say the dream of so-and-so. The dream of Ursel Tendzin, for that matter. You know, we dream that we are so-and-so. We can't remember when we were born. We don't want to think about the fact that we're going to die. In the middle, we conjure up all kinds of images about what we should do or shouldn't do. When we wake up, then we see that things are precisely as they are. And when things are precisely as they are, there's no fight. There's no war. There's just pristine goodness, let's say. It's very clear.
You strike me as being someone who is pretty enlightened. Are you enlightened?
Am I enlightened?
Yes.
Well, I tell you what. It looks, you look really good to me. This studio is interesting.
Mhm.
It's got little clocks and gadgets and things, and it's it feels like a good old human world.
Can you, and I don't mean to overplay this or overdo this train of thought, which I've probably already done, but how many enlightened people do you know?
Well, you see, if one is really a student of this particular teaching, then you would have to discriminate in what you mean by complete enlightenment or enlightenment by degree. As far as I'm concerned, I'm just a student. My teacher is very accomplished, and his teachers, of whom I have met several, are very accomplished. So once one has a glimpse of awakened state of mind, it is possible to recognize that in others, and it's also possible to see the degree, because we as human beings always notice things by contrast anyway. You know, good day, bad day, hot day, cold day, you know. So in terms of how enlightened one is, it's not a question which, as a practitioner, one actually asks oneself, but it's just the magnitude or the power of an individual in terms of their compassion, in terms of their willingness to radiate clarity and peace and goodness to others. That's how you can tell. I have met several great teachers.
Have you met anyone who is enlightened who isn't a disciple of Buddhism, who isn't a practicing Buddhist? Just does it ever happen like a diamond in the rough?
Yes, definitely. I've met lots of people. I wouldn't say completely enlightened.
No, but advanced and at
I
some
would say
advanced
I met
stage
people,
level of enlightenment.
surprising in all different circumstances. You meet people who just shine. Do you know what I mean? They just shine. And they don't hurt anybody. And not only that, they inspire people.
Okay. There are many traditions in the East. There's the guru-disciple relationship in India, where the guru receives total devotion from the disciple. How does that fit with your tradition?
Well, devotion is a very important part of the tradition of Tibet. In terms of that, I should mention that the Tibetan tradition was transmitted by what's called the Bengali school, especially the lineage that I belong to, which came to Tibet about 800, 1,000, 900, 1,000.
Somewhere between 800 and 1,000. Okay.
Yeah. And that particular school is called the Vajrayana. Vajra, Sanskrit word meaning indestructible, yana meaning vehicle. It is said to be the final and complete teaching of the Buddha, which is, according to that school, divided into three sections. Hinayana, meaning the narrow path, the path of renunciation and discipline. Mahayana, meaning the path of compassion and kindness. And Vajrayana, meaning the indestructible path where one actually transforms the world itself into enlightenment. Not only one's own state of mind, but the world itself becomes enlightened. And that tradition is what was passed on in Tibet. In terms of this particular school that I belong to, called Kagyu, that's the Tibetan word, Ka meaning command, Gyu meaning lineage, command lineage, devotion is extremely important. Because with devotion, one gives up the last vestiges of holding on to ego, that is one's own personal territory. But before one can do that, it is necessary to have mindfulness and awareness and compassion.
If you have devotion for your master, don't you run the risk of complicating his life by building his ego?
If you have a genuine master, he doesn't worry about ego. You might. That's why it's necessary to have mindfulness and awareness first. and then to practice the Mahayana path of compassion before you actually embark on the path of devotion, which is the most difficult, you could say.
Can you talk a little bit about destiny and free will?
Well, destiny seems to mean that something somewhere has, I think according to the way we understand it, some agency outside has produced a plan, either for oneself or for the rest of the world. That to me is absurd. Free will seems to indicate that one has a choice. That to me also is absurd. Destiny and free will merge together in what we call the law of cause and effect. Cause and effect can be, likened to the Christian in the Gospels, as you sow, so shall you reap, and whatnot. But in this case, when you actually refine it, as you think, so you speak, so you act. So everything originates in one's mind, and if one understands the process of mind, then one does not create aggressive forms of life. And therefore, the result is not destruction, hatred, jealousy, and all the rest of it.
So life is individual mind progressions?
I think so. In relationship to others, yeah.
What is your day like, a typical day in the life of Ursel?
Well, it depends on where I am. Right now I'm visiting San Francisco, so I'm going to do things like this, talk to you on a radio show, and also give a seminar next week, and maybe do some newspaper things, and interviews with the Dharma Dhatu students here in the Bay Area, in Berkeley and San Francisco and Palo Alto. When I'm at home in Boulder, we have a worldwide organization which is called Vajradhatu, and I actually go into an office in the daytime and do what's called business.
Do you have a little
Buddhist business?
Okay. Do you have when you take your break from your Buddhist business, do you have a little purple pillow that you go and sit on somewhere in the office or on the ground somewhere?
Oh, no. You mean, do I take a break?
Yeah.
I don't usually take breaks.
Okay. When do you do your meditating?
Well, generally speaking, whenever I get a chance.
Do you can you get out of shape, as people do when they say they didn't get their exercise because they were too busy or something?
Well, I think in the beginning you can.
Mm-hmm.
In the middle, it's less problematic. In the end, it doesn't matter. It depends. If you stabilize your meditation practice, then meditation practice is part of just your sense consciousness. Seeing, hearing, touching, smelling, tasting, thinking. That should be clear, meditative. In the beginning, when you practice meditation, you do get out of shape because you're still addicted to confused thinking, smelling, tasting, touching, all the rest of it. So with practice, daily practice, and occasionally intensive practice, like going on retreat, let's say. You go on retreat for 10 days or 2 weeks, or you do month-long practice with other people. You begin to stabilize that clarity of mind.
If life is the composite of individual mind progressions, why wouldn't you encourage someone to take part in meditative practices or the Buddhist tradition so that we could get things clarified? Wouldn't it be simpler and better for all of us?
I encourage you. That's what I'm doing now, talking to you. I wouldn't do much more than this.
This is Infinity. Remember to keep your mind open and listen to your heart. I'm Charlie Seraphin. Thank you for listening.